8:07 a.m., 21st of November, 1916. His Majesty's Hospital ship Britannic is sailing to the British sea base of Lemnos in the Aegean Sea, where she would take on board thousands of wounded soldiers from the Allied campaigns against Turkey in the First World War. She sails from Naples, Italy, on a scheduled round trip of 2 weeks from Southampton. Britannic is the third and final ship of the Olympic class, the youngest sister of the RMS Olympic and the infamous RMS Titanic.
Britannic was originally designed to be fairly similar to her sisters Olympic and Titanic. Increased competition amongst transatlantic liners and greater expectations from passengers led designers to make significant changes to her accommodations. This would set Britannic's design apart from her two older sisters. Third class was given new entrances. Second class would be given the luxury of the very own gymnasium. First class passengers would enjoy many new improvements. These included a larger a la carte restaurant and new reception room in B deck, where the most elite passengers would dine in unparalleled style.
First class lounge.
A playroom where children could play instead of using one of the palm courts like on Olympic and Titanic. A ladies' hairdresser salon, in addition to the barber shop. New sitting rooms were added on C deck as a result of the parlour suites having proved so popular on Olympic and Titanic.
It seemed to be
Keeping up with the trends and expectations, first class would see the addition of many private bathrooms and washrooms and cabins. Although basic on Olympic and Titanic, the swimming pool in Britannic was to be completely redecorated to keep up with the trends of sumptuous swimming baths aboard the German liners. Even the already luxurious spaces such as the Grand Staircase were also improved. The boat and A-deck entrances were modified to accommodate a Welt pipe organ. Ultimately, this musical instrument was never installed, but it still survives today. The decorative wrought iron panels designed to conceal the pipes on the organ were eventually auctioned off in London after the war. Many of Britannic's luxurious fittings were never installed due to her conversion to a hospital ship in 1950. These were sold off over 3 separate auctions in London and Belfast in 1919.
When the First World War broke out, construction of Britannic was placed on the back burner. Harland and Wolff, the builders, shifted their work toward the war effort. The Allied invasion of Gallipoli showed that the British Admiralty would need larger ships to transport their wounded home from the far-off battlefields of the Mediterranean. The Cunard ocean liners, Mauritania and Aquitania, were requisitioned as troop ships. This was also done with the White Star liner Olympic, the first sister of Britannic. Finally, the War Office decided to pay for the finalization of White Star's Britannic under the condition that it would be used as a hospital ship for the duration of the war. After the war ends, the ship would be scheduled to return to the hands of the White Star Line.
Over 3,300 bunks were installed on Britannic to accommodate patients. The ship was painted white, with a green band broken by red crosses, the internationally recognized designation for a hospital ship. Both sides of the war had hospital ships under these markings, and both sides of the war agreed to care for whatever wounded they could. Therefore, it was understood that neither side should attack a hospital ship of any nationality.
Prior to Britannic's voyage, the German submarine U-73 had laid 2 mine barriers in the Kea Channel, totaling approximately 12 mines. Now, mines are indiscriminate killers. The mine was not meant to target a hospital ship like Britannic, but rather it was laid where the Germans thought that they would interdict British naval traffic going into or out of Greek ports.
By U-boat.
Engineer, Joseph Wolf.
What was that?
My first impression was that we had hit a mine and we would probably be safe. I gave orders to clear the lifeboats and have them made ready to be sent away should it necessitate. Captain Charles Bartlett, HMHS Britannic, 21st of November, 1960.
Captain Charles Bartlett came onto the bridge still wearing his pajamas. His first orders were to sound the emergency quarters alarm and to close the watertight doors. He wasn't aware at that point that the forward doors were jammed in the open position. He ordered the engines to stop and the lifeboats to be swung out and readied for lowering. At the same time, he gave the order to the wireless telegraph operators to send out an SOS call for distress.
I ordered the sending out of the SOS signal by wireless, but we were not receiving any replies whatsoever. We were for a while under the impression that the apparatus was down altogether, but they continued sending the messages out regardless of response.
What the wireless operator didn't know is that the explosion had caused the Britannic's hull to flex a bit, whipping the foremast and breaking some of the connections between the wireless aerial strung between the masts and the transmitter in the ship's silent room. What this meant was that Britannic could still send out an SOS message, but she could not receive any replies.
I was on the bridge waiting for orders. My heart was in my mouth, but when I saw the captain standing there, cool and quiet, I thought to myself, it's all right. I felt a deal more comfortable. And I went to the locker and got out the captain's megaphone according to orders, and I stood alongside the captain on the bridge to see if he had any orders for me. The ship seemed to be leaning a bit to the starboard side, and she still seemed to be going ahead a little. Second Fremantle Scout Troop Patrol Leader, James Vickers.
I permitted my staff to return to their cabins, so long as it was done with haste. We're all too familiar with the dangers of ships sinking. The Lusitania was only a year ago, and the Titanic only 3 years ago.
Actually, 4 years
Nurse
ago.
matron of the HMHS Britannic, Miss Elizabeth Ann Dowes.
As we were walking out of the saloon, the signal went and blast rang out from the siren. Not until then would I believe that there was any danger. I distinctly remember as we quietly walked down the beautiful marble staircase and along the long corridor, where the sun streamed in the portholes, lighting up all our lovely cabins. This was goodbye to everything. Our ship was sinking. How fast? We didn't know. Nurse Ada Garland, Voluntary Aid Detachment.
As the situation continues to deteriorate, the captain realizes that his ship is in serious trouble. The Greek island of Kea looms only a couple of miles in the distance. Captain Bartlett orders a turn toward it in an effort to beach the ship. If Britannic can be beached, a dangerous evacuation could be avoided and the ship could possibly be salvaged.
lifeboats. Britannic's 55 lifeboats were arranged on the deck and numbered much differently than on Titanic.
It's tilting more and more. Last time I'll say the grand staircase before we go. Start with the boat on the other side. What? We're sinking. We're sinking.
Very quickly.
Cut the ropes. Really have time.
I gave the order for all to leave the ship, passing word to the engine room, and blowing the whistle for last alarm, the abandoned ship signal, to prolong the blast of the whistle.
Oh, snap. We're dropping.
She seemed just like a pitiful, dumb animal tortured, her sirens blasting for help up to the very last.
Captain C.A. Bartlett, the commander of the Britannic, stayed on the bridge giving orders to the officers through his speaking megaphone as the ship was going down under his feet. He not leave until the water lapped over him.
The ship was sinking very quickly then, going ahead at least to starboard, and soon the water came to the bridge. Assistant Commander Dyke having reported to me that he had left the ship, I told him to leave, and shortly after I followed him. We barely left the bridge, walking into the water by the forward bow gantry on the starboard side.
Abandoned ship.
One of the quartermasters had gone below early in the sinking to find supplies of bread from the ship's pantries to stock the lifeboats. He came out onto the deck to find the bridge submerged and the ship rapidly dropping in the water. He dropped the bread and leapt into the sea with mere seconds to spare before the vessel had disappeared.
When we reached the deck, the foremost of the four funnels was touching the water.
Look at that. See, now that's something you don't see every day. The ship slowly capsizing. The head trim visible. Propellers are rising quickly.
And the bows were completely submerged. We jumped 8 feet into the sea from the second-class quarter on sea deck, and after swimming clear, we watched the awesome sight of the mighty liner sinking. Assistant Chief Engineer, Joseph Wolf.
Like the bridge when I was standing here before, the grand staircase just collapsed.
It was indeed sad to watch our ship, slowly but surely sinking. We could hear her boilers rumbling off like thunder under the water, and her immense funnels, through which one could have driven a coach and four, were ripped up with as little difficulty as tearing a piece of paper.
She was slowly disappearing. Look at her. The massive propellers have risen out of the water. There goes the cables and the number 3 funnel. The funnel's gonna fall any second.
As she sat.
Look at her. She's sinking quickly. Submerging at a record rate. Faster than the Titanic. Number 4 funnel still standing. Ship is almost on her side. And if Kia is over there. There's the last funnel.
As she sank in only 480 feet of water, and the ship sank almost vertical and was 890 feet long, she touched the bottom.
bottom of the Atlantic. The ship was starting to plunge to the bottom of the Aegean Sea.
I skippered her, and I watched her founder. To have been able to witness a vessel her whole life, from birth to death, is surely a unique circumstance. Captain Charles Bartlett, HMHS Britannic, 21st of November, 1916.
His Majesty's Hospital ship Britannic sank in 55 minutes. 3 times the time it took for the Lusitania to sink, but only a third of the time it took for the Titanic to go down. Out of 1,066 souls on board, there were only 30 casualties in the sinking, far fewer than most other shipwrecks of this size. 21 were members of the crew, and 9 were members of the Royal Army Medical Corps. Britannic remains the largest passenger shipwreck on the ocean floor.